Hi guys, welcome back to the Department of Filtration. Today we are going to be talking about air filter pre-cleaners, what they are, how they work, and ultimately why I might want one. Now, some people may say to you that they believe air filtration is the most important filtration in the engine. The reason that is sometimes said is because it's the product that you're putting into your engine is just completely natural. It hasn't been like the oil that you put into your engine has been filtered, fuel has been filtered, but the air is just completely coming from whatever your environment in, and it can be very bad or it can be not too bad, but any way you look at it, it's the only thing that's sort of uncontrollable. Now, a lot of vehicles, light vehicles won't have a pre-cleaner unless you add one on like I've done to this. A lot of heavy duty vehicles, tractors and trucks and all that sort of have these things. And the idea is that they just pre-clean the air before it gets to the filter. So one of these things is never a replacement for a proper paper element air filter, but it does help reduce the dust and make the filter get plugged not as quickly. So before we get too much further, I want to explain properly how they work. So I'll just take this one here. So you can see up the bottom we've got some fins, and the airflow comes up through the bottom there, and then around the top and down into the snorkel. I'll take it apart. This one particular one here is fully serviceable and catches the dust, and you have to empty it. You can get some that empty the dust themselves, but I like to see how much it's caught. So I got just a lid, and then the bowl part, which is a bit of a funny shape. But so air comes up through the middle part, and then travels to the top, and there's a bit of a gap just at the top where the metal sits, and can either go into the down into the snorkel or into the dust bowl. And the way it works is these fins that are in the bottom part will make the air spin around in essentially a cyclone, and all your dust spins around here. And once it gets to the top, instead of going down into the snorkel, it actually gets flung out to the outside and sits in that bowl, and just the air goes down into the snorkel. Now, just to give you an idea of how that works a bit, I want to show you a demonstration, so we'll do that now. Righto, so to explain how it works a little bit with how it makes a cyclone and how that separates the dust from the air, I use this bucket and just this socket as to just show you how it works. So just imagine this as an air intake pipe. Now, if I don't have anything on there and it's just open, there's a particle that comes up, it's just going to come in, and it's just going to go down the pipe, and it's going to be in the engine, and it just goes straight down. And then if I add a cyclone to that, essentially something moving around in a circle, when that goes in, now it always, as long as it's going fast enough, you spin that around, it's always going to stay around the outside of the circle. Now, if you think that in terms of the filter housing, so instead of coming in and just straight down, it's going to come in and it's going to get sucked into a vortex and stay around the outside, and then get sucked into the little outside chamber down the bottom, and it's going to end up not going into the engine pipe in the middle. It's going to stay in the outside piece and not get sucked in. So that's how having they call it a cyclone effect I will separate the particles in the air from the air and just go, like it doesn't work 100%, like you're still going to get particles going through to your main air filter, that's what it's for, but it will separate a majority of them, and especially the big ones will end up stuck in the outside instead of going down the middle pipe. Right, so that's the basic principle of how the pre-cleaner works. And if your question is, that seems a bit dodgy, but I get the idea, does it work? Well, you can see here, there's quite a bit of dust. I've had this on, when's the last time I cleaned this? It was about 4 weeks ago. So that there is for, knock my camera off. That is 4 weeks accumulation of dust. So I'll tip that out. And notice this used to be clear, but you'll often see them this colour. The outside is still perfectly clear, but the reason the inside is all dull is because it's been scratched by the things moving around in there. Now I did take a video of this actually working when it's on the car. So a lot of times you can't actually see them, but where I've got this and at the speeds it runs at, you can actually see it running. So I'll put that up now. Now you can see there that it does actually work. Well, you've seen the dust in there, and then you can see all the bits, they come up and they get pushed out to the edge, and then you can see them all spinning around on the inside because of the vortex that the air's created, and the things that it sucks up get thrown right to the outside. So that's the basics of how it works. Now there's two main reasons you might want one of these. Well, sort of three, but one of them's sort of 2 in 1. First one is obviously they help remove a fair bit of dust and contaminants from the air filter before it actually gets to the air paper element. Now what that'll do in normal conditions will just extend the service of your air filter. Normally a lot of us just go off how dirty the air filter is as to when to change it, and your air filter will obviously last longer because a lot of the dust that would plug it up is getting caught by the pre-cleaner. The other part of that is if you're in extremely dusty conditions, like on gravel roads and things like that, or in out and back, it's a very good idea to have one of these because obviously there's a lot of dust and you'll fill up your air filter real quick. And also there's always a chance that you've got a leak somewhere or your air filter is not completely sealed, so it's always just a good idea to do the best job in your filtration that you can, because you never know what it is, and this is just going to really help out your air filter a whole lot. And the other major thing that this will do is actually separate water from the air, which a lot of people don't seem to think about. You get lots of people with these snorkels, they've got big ram heads on them, big thing facing this way with no filter or anything on it, and the water, and if it's raining, the water's just coming straight in, straight down the snorkel, straight into your air filter. Your air filter gets soaked. It then either restricts the airflow so much that it causes a fair bit of a performance drop, or it's going to be so plugged but soft, the paper will get soft because the water will actually just tear. And if you don't regularly check your air filter, you're going to have a torn air filter. And they also sort of just never go back the same once they've gotten wet. You want to keep it as long as possible as you can. So that's a major problem with these ram head snorkels that people often have. But this thing, it actually works with water the exact same way that it does with dust. So on a rainy day I'll drive along and there'll actually be a small amount of water collected along the bottom of the rim that I have to drain out, not because it leaks, but because it's done a pretty good job at actually separating the water from the air. And I've done tests. I've been driving around in the rain all day, and I've checked my air filter and it's been completely dry. And I've checked a mate's car that's been driving around in the same conditions, checked the air filter, and it's wet. Just because the standard or ram head air intake is just going to suck in water, and you can't really do anything about that, but this will fix that. So it's going to extend your service interval of your filter, help cut down the amount of dust that might get into your engine, because you never know what's going to go on. And 3, it'll stop your air filter getting waterlogged and possibly broken or torn or whatever you want. And these things generally aren't too expensive, like this one here. This is a cheap one. You can get genuine Donaldson or Fleet Guard ones, they're probably around $100, but this is a Bearco one, which is from a local tractor shop. This whole assembly set me back probably about $25, so it's not a big outlay. I mean, for the prices we're paying for some air filters these days, you know, if you can save, if you can extend your service interval twice, so you only have to buy 1 air filter where you would normally buy 2, then it's already paid for itself and it's going to keep doing its job. Unless it breaks, you're not going to have any issues with it. You just have to clean it out every now and then, or as I said, you can get self-cleaning ones, but I always thought it was a bit of a silly idea to have one, but one day I actually just tried it, and since that day when I tried it, I've never gone back. And the other question is, does it cause any restriction to the air intake? No, as long as you've got the correct size. I did do an experiment on this, and I got a really small one for the top of this head, and it screamed and it sucked and made a really loud noise, and I didn't like it at all. So as long as you get the proper size one for your engine, there's plenty. I know Fleet Guard have got a calculator. If you put in your engine and capacity and all that and what revs it runs at, it'll calculate how big of a thing you need for your engine. So just make sure you get the right one. So there you have it. That's what a air filter pre-cleaner is. That's how it works, what it does, and why. Let me know if you run one on any of your vehicles, if you add one on, or if it's factory, and what your experiences are. I'd be interested to know whether you've found it worthwhile or yeah. But thanks for watching. Let's talk to you another day.